His name is Lobelia, who is falsely accused of being a dangerous criminal, witnesses a carriage under attack by a pack of wolves. Seeing this, he begins casting magic and shouts, "Move away!" However, the people inside the carriage, terrified of Lobelia, believe they are about to die. Instead, Lobelia uses his infernal circle advanced fire magic, creating a ring of flames around the carriage, shocking everyone. At that moment, Lobelia notices a knight staring at him. The knight then asks if Lobelia is affiliated with the rebels, but Lobelia dismisses the question, handing him a healing potion. "Forget about that, here, take this. It's far better than that useless high-heel potion," he says. Initially hesitant, the knight eventually drinks it, only to be astonished when his hand heals instantly. Both knights are left in awe. Shortly after, a princess steps out of the carriage, expressing her gratitude for Lobelia's help. However, Lobelia downplays the act, claiming he only did it to pass the time and doesn't deserve any thanks. Despite this, the princess insists on showing her appreciation. Suddenly, her butler intervenes, instructing her to step back before confronting Lobelia. "What are your intentions, you arrogant magician?" he demands. The surrounding knights, shocked by Lobelia's identity, immediately raise their swords at him. "Even if you saved us, we can't expose the princess to danger," the butler, Julius, exclaims while pulling the princess away toward the carriage. Lobelia remains silent for a moment before calling out to one of the knights. Though hesitant, the knight responds with a nervous "yes." Lobelia instructs them to head west, where a nearby town lies. Suspicious, the knight hesitantly asks, "Why should I take orders from you?" To his surprise, Lobelia grabs him and firmly states, "Shut up and listen. Otherwise, the princess is as good as dead. Now go and tell everyone." Hearing this, the knight rushes back to the carriage,
while Lobelia tells to himself, "Arrogant magician."
Inside the carriage, the princess asks her butler why everyone fears Lobelia when he doesn't seem like a bad person. Julius explains that Lobelia is a notorious villain known as the arrogant magician, Lobelia Crowley. He was the top student at the Magic Academy, but used his powers for his own gain, harming countless people in the process. Due to his actions, many lost their homes and lives, leading to his reputation as a demon. Julius warns the princess to stay away from him. However, the princess ponders aloud, if he was truly evil, wouldn't it have been easier for him to just hand me over to the rebels instead of saving me? Why did he help us? Julius admits that even he doesn't understand Lobelia's motives. The princess then reflects on her father's death at the hands of a tyrant and notes that, unlike him, Lobelia doesn't seem to harbor malice. He didn't even demand a reward for rescuing them. He merely called it killing time. Deep in thought, she muses to herself, "That was kind of cool." Just then, a knock at the door startles them. It is the knight from earlier, relaying Lobelia's instructions. Julius accepts the information but notices that the knight refrains from mentioning Lobelia's name, fearing it might not be believed. Internally, the knight begins questioning the rumors. Despite their hostility toward him, Lobelia still prioritized their safety. Maybe he isn't as bad as everyone says, the knight wonders. Meanwhile, Lobelia recalls his real identity, Pseudo Arima, a part-time worker about to turn 23, whose hobby was playing video games. Suddenly, he found himself reincarnated as the infamous villain in a classic RPG fantasy game, one of the most popular games of all time. The game's story follows the protagonist, Reinhard, who awakens the blessing of the brave flame and, with the help of destined heroines, saves the world from evil. Despite his ordinary appearance, Reinhard earns the trust of many beautiful women. However, Lobelia was reincarnated as the most despised villain, Lobelia Crowley, one of 12 hated antagonists whose purpose was to research forbidden dark magic. Looking through Lobelia's diary, he discovers that the character had already mastered forbidden dark magic. As he contemplates why he was reincarnated as such a detested villain, he recalls that Lobelia is fated to die in the game's storyline. Determined, he vows to avoid that fate at all costs. Lobelia was, in fact, his favorite character, and he had always wished for a better ending for him. Despite being labeled the most hated villain in the game, he was beloved by fans in reality. The reason for this admiration stemmed from his tragic backstory. Born in a conflict-ridden village between demons and humans, Lobelia lived a happy life despite their poverty. One day, he decided he should find a real job instead of stealing money. While contemplating an excuse for the money he had already taken, a demon suddenly collapsed in front of him. Though aware of the world's cruelty, Lobelia couldn't abandon the fallen creature. Taking him home, he provided food and watched happily as his sister played with the demon. Grateful, the demon later departed, vowing never to forget their kindness. However, unbeknownst to Lobelia, that demon's army would later destroy his hometown. The men were slaughtered, while the women and children were sold into slavery. Locked in a cage, Lobelia blamed himself for everything. He believed that his kindness had caused the downfall of his home. Somehow, he managed to escape and fled through the ruins of his town. While running, he accidentally bumped into a nobleman, who, to his shock, offered to adopt him. The Crowley family, unable to conceive, took him in as their heir. From then on, Lobelia received an elite education, entering the prestigious Grand Chariot Magic Academy at just 12 years old. His academic performance was exceptional, but the trauma from his past left him unable to return to his former self. Graduating as the top student, he felt grateful to his adoptive father, until that gratitude was shattered. One day, his father called him, stating that there was something more important than his grades. Your twisted nature, your willingness to harm others without a second thought. It's unacceptable, he said. You are no longer my son. Those words plunged Lobelia into despair. Unable to cope with the heartbreak, he turned to dark magic. From that moment, he began killing indiscriminately. One day, a man confronted him, introducing himself as Reinhard, the hero destined to stop him. Lobelia fought against the entire guild for 2 days and nights. With the power of friendship, you can't win alone, Reinhard told him. Think about your choices. Then, he left, leaving Lobelia humiliated and enraged. Swearing vengeance, Lobelia vowed to hunt Reinhard down and make him suffer. Fueled by hatred, Lobelia continued challenging the hero but lost every time. Desperate, he eventually joined the Demon Lord's army, the same army that had destroyed his hometown. However, he was betrayed and weakened by a curse from the Demon Lord's executives. At that moment, the hero's party arrived, leading to Lobelia's demise. This tragic fall made Lobelia a fan-favorite character. Pseudo, recalling these memories, decides that he will not let Lobelia walk the same tragic path. Back in the present, Lobelia sits in a restaurant, noticing that everyone is staring at him. When the waiter arrives, he is visibly sweating. Realizing how fearful people are of him, Lobelia is relieved that he wasn't kicked out. Ever since reincarnating as the villain, he's been met with fear wherever he goes. Determined to change his reputation, he decides to defeat the Dragon King Boros, who has been ruling over Kansas territory and oppressing its people. Rather than waiting for the official event, Lobelia resolves to hunt the Dragon King down the very next day. While deep in thought, a man approaches Lobelia, asking if he is that arrogant magician and claiming to have an interesting story to share. Lobelia declines. The man then gestures toward a knight, Claudia, one of the hero's party members. Recognizing her strong sense of justice, Lobelia recalls that she became a knight despite being a commoner. Suddenly, the man spills a glass of water on Lobelia, boasting, "If I capture you, I'll get a huge reward." Another person attempts to punch Lobelia from behind, but he swiftly dodges. As Lobelia prepares to retaliate with magic, Claudia notices, causing him to stop. Though captured, he realizes that this body doesn't feel pain as strongly. However, disliking being hit, he gently uses wind magic to push his attackers away, knocking out another man in the process. Claudia silently observes as Lobelia chooses to leave, wanting to avoid further trouble. Lobelia was considering eating elsewhere when he suddenly heard someone call his name from behind. To his surprise, it was Claudia. She immediately confronted him, accusing him of attacking adventurers. "You wouldn't just let something like that go. What are you planning?" she questioned. Lobelia, unfazed, simply stated that he had only wanted to have a meal but was interrupted by those people, so he left. "Even if I claimed to be the victim, you wouldn't believe me," Lobelia added before mockingly remarking on her rigid sense of justice. "Your unwavering belief really shows your training with the hero." Annoyed, Claudia dismissed him, saying, "I don't have time to waste arguing with you." However, Lobelia grew uneasy as she came too close, making him wonder if she was about to attack. He resolved to be more cautious about his actions moving forward. The next day, Lobelia and Claudia found themselves in the same carriage. Claudia, suspicious, asked why he was there. "Passengers heading to the Kanos territory are either affiliated with them or have business there," she pointed out. Lobelia replied, "I'm going there to defeat the Dragon King." Hearing this, Claudia was outraged. "That's my mission. If I don't defeat him, it's meaningless." Suddenly, the carriage driver halted, informing them that a massive boulder was blocking the way. Lobelia wasted no time, stepping out and leaping over the rock. As he landed on the other side, he heard a noise. Claudia had followed him. "You should turn back," Lobelia advised. "You're planning to defeat me and ally with the Dragon King, aren't you?" she accused. Lobelia sighed and walked away, muttering, "I can't deal with this." This left Claudia stunned. In her flustered state, she tripped, but Lobelia caught her before she could hit the ground. She muttered a quick apology. "Be careful next time," Lobelia said, noticing her injured ankle. Seeing her pain, he gathered herbs, quickly making an ointment and applying it. Claudia blushed at the unexpected kindness. "It should heal by tomorrow," he assured her, instructing her to rest while he stood guard. Claudia stared at him. "This isn't the guy I last saw. If it were, he would have abandoned me right there." Lobelia simply responded, "This is the real me." She then asked, "What will you do after defeating the Dragon King?" "I just want to test my strength." "Is it to surpass Reinhardt?" she pressed. "Think whatever you want," he said dismissively. Lobelia thought to himself that Claudia was merely an additional character in the Dragon King's arc. In the game, they needed to team up with the Dragon Knight Zeke to defeat him. He then asked why she was traveling alone. Claudia replied that she had a personal score to settle, but refused to elaborate. Realizing that defeating the Dragon King alone was nearly impossible, Lobelia decided to accompany her. "Just don't get in my way," he told her. As they prepared to rest, Claudia unexpectedly murmured, "Thank you." Lobelia was momentarily taken aback, but soon realized she was sleep-talking. He thought to himself, a villain who has done countless evil deeds doesn't get thanked. The next morning, as they traveled through the forest, Lobelia realized they had entered Boros territory. He believed that if he was the one fighting the Dragon King, the battle should be easy. Claudia then explained that the Dragon King forced the villagers to offer a sacrifice every year, and today was the day. Their security must be tighter than usual, she warned. Don't act recklessly. I don't take orders from you, Lobelia shot back. As they reached the village, Claudia suggested waiting until morning since the enemy would be more active at night. However, Lobelia spotted someone being taken as a sacrifice. The soldiers set fire to a house, and a young girl screamed, "Papa! Mama!" Claudia almost said a name, but stopped herself, piquing Lobelia's curiosity. The soldiers sneered. They should have just handed over the sacrifice instead of letting her escape. Claudia, enraged, dashed forward. "Aren't you the one who said not to act recklessly?" Lobelia thought, but did not stop her. She swiftly took down 2 soldiers before they could call for help. The sacrifice girl recognized Claudia and called out her name. Just then, a warrior from the Dragon King's army appeared, clashing swords with Claudia. "I will abolish this entire system of sacrifice," she declared. Her opponent, enraged, intensified his attacks. Claudia struggled to find an opening. Her sword was eventually knocked away, and she was about to surrender when Lobelia intervened, delivering a powerful punch to her opponent. "This is my fight. Stay out of it," Claudia shouted. "If you want to die, then die," Lobelia retorted. "But I'm the one who's going to kill the Dragon King. Follow me. Before reinforcements arrive, we invade the castle." Inside the castle, the Dragon King, Boros, learned that his subordinates had been wiped out.
And then he says that the Khanas is a comfortable place, so he wants to defend this place, and tells his subordinate to take down the intruders. And he leaves the castle to see their current position. And while thinking that his subordinates are outnumbering the invaders, so they don't stand a chance, but to his surprise, there was a massacre happened. And it was Lobelia and Claudia. And Lobelia says he wasted some time on an easy task. And then Lobelia suddenly looks at the subordinate, but with a fury in his eyes he reined inside. And he started to explain everything to the Boros. But he ignored his words, and Boros just says that he is the only dragon alive because of him. So for betraying his trust, he needs to die, as he proceeds to kill his last subordinate. And he says that it's so disappointing.
Just then, Lobelia and Claudia burst through the doors. "Such a rude entrance," Boros commented with a smirk. "Welcome to my castle. Call me Dragon King Boros." He then turned to Lobelia. "Why not join me? I could use a new right-hand man." "Not interested," Lobelia replied. Boros sighed. "One last question. Why do you challenge me?" "To free Kanos," Lobelia answered. Claudia, shocked by his words, remained silent. Boros unsheathed his sword. "I am the Dragon King. I don't fight fair." With a single swing, he unleashed a shockwave that sent Lobelia sliding back. In an instant, Boros closed the gap, pointing his sword at Lobelia. What immense power from just a swing, Lobelia thought. "You're stronger than the average human," Boros admitted. Lobelia smirked. "The weakest ones always bark the loudest." He attempted to shatter Boros's sword, but Boros swiftly retreated. "This is one of the strongest swords in existence," he boasted. Seizing an opening, Claudia stabbed Boros, but he simply laughed. "I was hoping to enjoy you a bit longer," he sneered. Claudia pulled back her sword. "I'll kill you," she shouted, striking again. Boros countered, but Lobelia intervened, using wind magic to blast Claudia out of harm's way. She passed out, lighter than he expected. "Are you the rumored magician?" Boros asked as Lobelia revealed his magic book. Boros quickly realized Lobelia was casting dark magic. Impressive. You figured out, Lobelia said, unleashing jet black sphere Hell August. Boros deflected it effortlessly. The battle raged on.
And Boros swings his sword, and Lobelia dodges it, and Boros starts to get serious by swinging his sword, but Lobelia dodges everything, and he uses a dark magic named Ominous Chain, and he used the chains to immobilize the Dragon King's movement, but the Dragon King straight up broke the chains, and he smiles happily, but Lobelia then uses his magic power named Deadly Thunder, and it was a direct hit, and the Dragon King was lost, and he was lying there knocked out. And Lobelia was relieved that this worked, and then Lobelia realized that Claudia is still unconscious, and he tries to wake her up, and then the Dragon King stands up and says that he had overwhelmed him, and Lobelia is the first person to do so, but Lobelia was shocked on inside. And then Boros turned into a dragon form, saying that he admits the power of Lobelia. But Lobelia realizes that in the game Boros have a second form, and he started say that no warrior had brought him to this form over 500 years. And Lobelia says he have no intention on losing to someone like him, while calling the Dragon King a small fry. But then the Dragon King tries to attack Lobelia, but he dodged it, and he uses his wind magic, and attacking the Boros, and the wounds started to heal, and then Lobelia decides to observe the Dragon King for a while.
And as Claudia lay unconscious, she dreamed of her past, the happy days with her family before the Dragon King's invasion. As a child, she dreamed of becoming a knight, inspired by a storybook hero. But everything changed when Boros attacked her village, taking lives and demanding sacrifices. Her first friend, Monica, stood up to Boros, declaring, "Claudia will defeat you." But Claudia was chosen as the next sacrifice. Her parents dug a hole beneath their home, urging her to escape to the royal capital.
Afterwards, she hugs her parents out of sadness. And she started think to herself that even though she wanted to be a knight, but all she could do is run away. And she thinks to her that she is nothing but a coward. Afterwards, Claudia wakes up, and Lobelia realizes that she woke up. Afterwards, Claudia realizes she is inside a barrier. And then Claudia thinks to herself that right now she have a powerful ally, who will fight with her, which means she can defeat the Dragon King. Afterwards, Boros says that they need to end this. And he goes using a powerful attack, saying that they need to end this. And all of a sudden, Claudia runs in by jumping in to attack the Dragon King. And this shocked Lobelia. And Claudia goes on by calling her family's name and stabbed the Boros head. But Boros just swings her down, and Lobelia catches her. And she asks Lobelia to take care of the rest. And he tells Claudia to watch him silently. And then Lobelia realizes that the dragon have a overpowered healing. So to stop that he have unleashed something that's more stronger than that. And he says this will be the end, while casting a dark magic. And a huge door spawns behind the Dragon King. And suddenly Lobelia says Boros rules ends here. And the gate opens and drags the Boros inside with lots of chains. And in the end the door closes. And Claudia was shocked. And she asks him on where does this door leads to which he says he doesn't know it either. Afterwards they returned to the village. And all of the villagers were angry on the Lobelia, saying that the arrogant magician should just die. And on inside Lobelia was thinking that he isn't welcomed at all. Afterwards he says that returning to the village is a waste of time. But after hearing that, Claudia gets angry, shouting that the villagers are idiots. And she says that's so wrong attitude to a savior of our village. And she also admits that without his help they couldn't not have defeated the Dragon King. But all of the sudden Claudia's sister hugs her, saying her to stop it, since everyone is just anxious and afraid. But then Lobelia says he didn't defeated the Dragon King for any rewards. And he started to leave. But then Claudia calls him and says thank you to Lobelia. And all of the villagers started to say thank you to Lobelia. And after hearing that, he just leaves without saying a word. Few days later, in the Hero Guild, a letter got to Reinhard, and it was from Claudia, and he realizes that the person that killed the Dragon King was Lobelia. And after hearing that the princess was happy since he saved someone again, while another girl was noticing them. Afterwards, Lobelia was walking over a bridge, and he was thinking of helping someone so he can regain his reputation. And he realizes that it's hard to make conversation because of the sharp tongue Lobelia has. And all of a sudden something pops up frock behind, and it was a cat girl. And she asks Lobelia to help her. And Lobelia's eyes started to glow since the opportunity already arrived. And then he gave her a dried meat. Afterwards, Lobelia thinks that he doesn't recognize this character, and decides to help her. After eating the meat from Lobelia, she says it was tasty. Lobelia asks her to tell her name, and tells him to not get surprised by hearing that. And she says her name as Iridia, who is a daughter of the leader of the beastmen. And Lobelia was shocked after hearing that name, and he decides to leave. Afterwards, Lobelia thinks to himself that she is the daughter of the beastmen leader, and as a self-centered personality. And she even went with an all-out war against the humans for someone calling her useless, when she had become the leader of the tribe. Because of that, Lobelia decides not to intervene. And he thinks to himself that in the game only her name were revealed, so which means he doesn't really need to save her. But then she says that she will give him a reward for saving her. And after hearing that, Lobelia stops and asks her about the reward. And she says the reward is her becoming Lobelia's wife. But with a disgusted face he declined her offer. And she still insisted on saying that it's an honor to him since she had fallen for her. But Lobelia rejected that as well. And then she shows her boobs to him, saying it's big. But he still rejected that. And in the end she asks him to take her as his pet. And then Lobelia shouts at her saying he won't help her. But then Iridia suddenly calls in the ground, and she became unconscious.
Despite his reservations, Lobelia prepared a meal for her. When she awoke to the smell, her eyes sparkled with excitement. She took a bite and, delighted, proclaimed, "It's delicious." Lobelia, unimpressed, reminded her it was just porridge. Raya, however, remained undeterred, musing aloud about eating such meals daily after marrying him. Annoyed, Lobelia ordered her to leave once she recovered. However, Raya revealed that she had someone important to meet. Intrigued, Lobelia reconsidered. If she wasn't running away out of boredom, then the game's story must have changed due to his actions. Deciding to help her, he imposed a condition. When she became the beastmen leader, she must obey his orders. Tearfully, Raya agreed, embracing him. Though irritated, Lobelia secretly found her endearing. Sensing danger, he asked if anyone was pursuing her. Raya confirmed that 2 members of the Heroes Guild were tailing her. Meanwhile, the 2 pursuers planned an ambush. The female assassin, eager for bloodshed, suggested killing their targets outright, but her companion reminded her that their mission was to retrieve the princess alive. She begrudgingly apologized. Before they could act, Lobelia suddenly appeared above them, shouting, "You fools!" The 2 agents of the Heroes Guild barely had time to react before he struck. Meanwhile, Raya clung to him as they made their escape. Lobelia glanced back, only to see a missile hurtling toward him. Reacting swiftly, he summoned his fire magic, incinerating every projectile except one. The resulting explosion sent shockwaves through the air, revealing Jake from the Hero Guild. The girl beside him frowned and scolded, "Jake, that's unfair. You told me not to kill them, yet you just tried to?" Jake sighed, dismissing her protest. Let's check on them and complete our mission. We need to capture the princess alive. When they arrived, Lobelia stood there, his expression dark with anger. Jake, taken aback, muttered, "No one told me the arrogant magician would be her bodyguard." The girl turned to him. "Is it fine if I kill him?" Jake smirked. "I'll provide support from the back. Go ahead." Hearing that, the girl grinned wickedly and lunged at Lobelia. He calmly charged his hands with energy and deflected her attack. She struck again. He blocked once more. Jake joined the assault, but Lobelia parried effortlessly. Frustrated, she suddenly retreated. "Why aren't you attacking?" Lobelia exhaled. "Because I want to talk." She scoffed. "What is there to talk about?"
And she goes on by saying a criminal who helped the princess escape, or should I say a kidnapper. But all of the sudden Jake says to her that they should hear him out, since it's strange that Lobelia haven't made his move. Afterwards Lobelia says he have no intention on fighting them. And after hearing, she asks him on how they could believe that, to which he says that he can kill them any time if he wanted to. And then Jake agrees with it, and asks Lobelia to give a legitimate reason for kidnapping the princess. After hearing that, Lobelia says it's to make the princess meet her friend. And they were little confused after hearing that.
A knight would understand if you simply told the truth. To her surprise, both she and Jake denied his words outright. Lobelia prepared for battle, determined to hold them off until the princess could escape. Suddenly, Raya drop-kicked Jake square in the face, sending him flying. Lobelia stood in stunned silence. The girl from the Hero Guild sneered. "So, the princess is joining the fight too? My subordinate is down, but that won't stop me. Forget the mission. I'm going to kill you." Raya nimbly climbed a tree, taunting, "Lowly humans. Your attacks won't even touch me." Her arrogance ignited the girl's fury. Without hesitation, she bit off her own finger. Raya gasped, but Lobelia recognized what was happening. She had entered a berserk state, where friend and foe were indistinguishable. As she swung her blade, Lobelia grabbed Raya and bolted. "I told you to run. Why haven't you? You stupid cat." Raya clung to him. "I can't abandon my husband. My pride won't allow it." Lobelia grimaced. There's no stopping her now. He unleashed his ominous chains, but she shattered them effortlessly, leaving him momentarily shocked. Just as she was about to strike, a sudden gunshot rang out. Raya was sent flying. Lobelia turned sharply to see Jake, weapon in hand. "Leave now before backup arrives," Jake warned. Lobelia frowned. "And your mission?" Jake exhaled. The situation changed. "If this continues, she'll kill the princess too. I'll buy you time." For the first time in a long while, Lobelia found himself saying, "Thank you." As they walked through the forest, Raya lowered her head. "I'm sorry, Lobelia." He glanced at her. "You're still young and ignorant. You'll make many mistakes." She clenched her fists. "I won't make any more mistakes." He scoffed. "You will. Again and again. But as long as you're alive, you can learn and change. That's what life is about." Before he could finish his thoughts, a voice echoed in his mind. A voice eerily familiar. His chest tightened as he realized something unsettling. He had become this body's personality. He shook off the thought, dismissing it as his imagination. They emerged from the forest, arriving at a hill blanketed in flowers. Nearby, a small girl practiced her magic. Noticing them, Raya's eyes lit up. "Rill." The girl, Rachel, turned. "Raya." They ran into each other's arms, embracing tightly. Rachel introduced herself, then turned to Lobelia. "And you?" Raya hesitated. Now that I think about it, I don't know his name. Lobelia simply replied, I have no name, just a mere companion. Rachel shrugged. Names don't matter. You brought my friend here safely. That's enough for me. Curious, she asked, are you a magician? Could you show me a spell? Lobelia considered a low-level spell, not wanting to reveal too much, but before he could act, a voice rang out from the house. Who's out there? Lobelia stiffened. Could they know his true identity? To his surprise, the man rushed toward him, not in hostility, but in excitement. Your spell book. Let me see it. Lobelia handed it over out of pity.
Afterwards, he invites them inside. And after coming inside, they gave them tea and snacks. Afterwards, Lobelia was thinking that it's a warm welcome.
As expected, the man couldn't open it. It only opens for those it chooses, Lobelia explained. Disappointed, the man sighed.
Rachel then confronted him. But then Raya says thank you to him for looking after Rachel. But he just says that Rachel is the one that's looking after him.
Raya handed him a magic restoration potion. I heard you ran low on mana. Lobelia smirked. So you do have a kind side. Rachel groaned. Finally, I won't have to work overtime. Raya and Lobelia prepared to leave, but the master urged them to stay longer, worried about their exhaustion. Lobelia declined. We're being pursued. Staying here would only endanger you and your disciple. Before they could depart, the master handed them 2 rings. Lobelia hesitated. Is this an engagement ring? Raya's eyes widened. How did you know we're getting married? Rachel was stunned. The master laughed. No, it's a magic item. Lobelia narrowed his eyes. Do you even understand their value? Are you stupid? The master smiled. Rachel laughed for the first time in ages. Thanks to you. Take them as a token of gratitude. Lobelia sighed and accepted the gift. As they left, Lobelia turned to Raya. I have something to tell you.
She grinned.
You've finally fallen for me, haven't you? Ignoring her remark, he simply said, My name is Lobelia. She froze. Lobelia? The infamous magician? I thought you'd be cruel, but you're surprisingly kind. He scoffed internally. Kind? Did she really believe that? Before they could continue, voices called out. An army of beastmen surrounded them. A warrior stepped forward. Raya, come home. She glanced at Lobelia hesitantly. He nodded.
Go.
They came all this way for you. As she took slow steps forward, Lobelia thought to himself, if Jake delivered the message, everything should be fine. But then, a voice snarled, You nearly killed my comrades. Because of you, they may never wake up. I can sense dark magic on them, and only one person here wields such magic. Lobelia's eyes narrowed. It wasn't me. They didn't listen. A flash of light. A sudden impact.
Pain.
Raya's voice rang out in desperation. Lobelia. Darkness swallowed him, and when he woke, he found himself in the underground prison of the Hero Guild. This time, there was no easy escape. Lobelia sat in his cell, the weight of the magic barrier pressing down on him, making escape impossible. The thought that this might be his end gnawed at him, but before despair could take hold, a familiar voice called out his name. A figure collapsed in front of him, catching her breath before lifting her head. It's been a while, she said, meeting his gaze. Without hesitation, she asked, Are you the one who hurt them? Lobelia shook his head. No, I didn't. She exhaled in relief. I knew it. The Lobelia, who once saved me, could never do such a thing. Her expression hardened with determination. I'll have them release you. No, Lobelia interrupted. This is my problem. Don't interfere. She refused to back down. Consider it repaying the favor. I didn't save you for repayment. I did it because I had time to kill. Don't involve yourself in this, he retorted coldly. She smirked. I refuse. As royalty, I always pay my debts. A guard entered, summoning her away. As she turned to leave, she declared, I have strong feelings for you, Lobelia. Lobelia remained motionless, stunned by her words. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Reinhard exchanged greetings with Alicia. She sighed, her expression troubled. It doesn't sit right with me to accuse someone without proof. Reinhard patted her head. That's because you're kind. His eyes darkened. But only one person wields dark magic, Lobelia. It has to be him. His fists clenched. He hurt my friends. He'll pay for it. As he turned to leave, something caught Alicia's eye. Jake's fingers twitched slightly. On the battlefield, Lobelia ascended the stairs, his arrival drawing every gaze. Reinhard stepped forward, eyes locked on him. I didn't expect you to attack my comrades, he said. You'll answer for it. Face me in a duel. Lobelia frowned. Why? Because I will be the one to judge you, Reinhard declared. Lobelia sighed. There are better ways to resolve this. Listen to the truth. There's nothing to discuss with someone like you, Reinhard roared. I won't forgive you. Realizing words would not sway him, Lobelia acknowledged the inevitable. Defeating Reinhard would only enrage the others, but the course was set. He opened his spellbook. The duel began with Reinhard charging, his sword slicing through the air. Lobelia evaded, narrowly dodging the first strike. Another swing followed, this time meeting Lobelia's block. Lower your sword, Reinhard, Lobelia warned. Never. Reinhard lunged again, but Lobelia's ominous chains coiled around him, binding him in place. She lost control. Jake was trying to stop her. That's what happened, Lobelia explained. Reinhard snarled. That's a convenient story. If you won't believe me, ask those involved, Lobelia argued. I refuse. Don't run from your sins, coward. Reinhard's holy sword blazed to life. Lobelia barely had time to react before a searing pain tore through his right shoulder. Blood dripped as Reinhard pressed forward, striking again. Lobelia parried each attack, thoughts racing. Why wasn't the so-called hero of justice willing to listen? Suddenly, he shouted, You refuse to believe me because I'm Lobelia, the villain. If words couldn't reach Reinhard, then strength would. The ground trembled as Lobelia unleashed a powerful spell, a massive dark magic circle forming beneath Reinhard, sapping his strength. Another spell followed. A jet-black spear hurtled toward the hero, forcing him back. Seizing the opportunity, Lobelia rushed in, landing a devastating punch to Reinhard's gut, sending him flying. Gasps erupted from the hero's guild. You tried to kill our leader, someone accused. Lobelia scowled. He challenged me, not the other way around. Move aside, small fry. Reinhard rose, ordering the others to stand down. This is my fight. We continue. Lobelia nodded.
Fine.
I'll end this quickly. Summoning another jet-black spear, he hurled it forward.
Reinhard strikes Lobelia and it got blocked. But that was really powerful, which gave Lobelia some damage. And then Lobelia uses his fire magic to get some space between them.
Yet Reinhard advanced undeterred. Lobelia's eyes narrowed. He's adapting, no, getting stronger. Is this plot armor? You dare show yourself after hurting my friends and kidnapping the princess? Reinhard growled. I was her bodyguard. She wanted to see her friend. That's all. Lobelia snapped. More lies. Reinhard charged. Lobelia gritted his teeth. This is pointless. Memories of past injustices flooded his mind. Loneliness.
Misunderstanding. Hatred.
You discard people without even hearing their side, he roared, his fist slamming into Reinhard's face, sending him sprawling. Straddling him, Lobelia landed punch after punch. Why should I be hated just for being me? Why can't I be recognized? Why can't I have happiness too? I have the right to protect and care for others, just like you. Reinhard, dazed, stared up at him. Lobelia, why are you crying? Lobelia raised his fist for another strike, but his body wouldn't move. Shocked, he struggled, but Reinhard took the opening. The holy sword pierced Lobelia's side. Reinhard stood, declaring victory. Enough! A voice cut through the tension. Alicia stepped forward. Lobelia's thoughts swirled. Why is the game's heroine here? Then, movement stirred at the edge of the battlefield. One by one, those Lobelia had once saved emerged, stepping between him and Reinhard, standing in his defense.